to name this as Epic Fear instead of Epic Fury.
That's crazy. Bro. 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 Is this going well? Is this going well, guys? Guys, is it going well? I don't think it's going well. And for the record, the conditions might change, right? America is so crazy. They could deploy. America's so insane that. All right, we're going to do situation monitoring. I'll be back in a second. I got to use the restroom.
If there's no response or if it's a negative response, I think it will be very bad for the future of NATO, he said. Trump is trying to pressure world powers, including the UK, France and Italy, to help keep the Strait of Hormuz open as oil prices skyrocket. This after Australia and Japan already refused his request. The president won't give specifics on which countries might sign on. But the Strait of Hormuz, through which roughly 20% of the world's oil travels, is now a no-go zone for shipping, with the constant threat of Iranian drone attacks. Democrats argue the administration had no plan.
The Strait of Hormuz obviously is now shut down. All of this was predictable.
The White House stands by its strategy. Energy Secretary Chris White telling our Martha Raddatz the pain at the pump will be short-lived.
Are you really sure it's going to be short-term? Can you guarantee it'll just be weeks before prices go down?
Hey, there's no guarantees in wars at all. I can guarantee this situation would be dramatically worse without this military operation to defang the Iranian regime.
This as thousands of U.S. Marines aboard Navy carriers move into the region. It's an amphibious attack group capable of conducting ground operations. President Trump has said he's not ruling out U.S. boots on the ground. And this morning, the real cost of the war becoming clear as we learn the identities of the 6 Americans killed when their refueling aircraft went down in Iraq on Thursday. Among them, 34-year-old Technical Sergeant Ashley B. Pruitt from Bardstown, Kentucky. Her family described her as an amazing wife, mother and airman. And the youngest among them, Technical Sergeant Tyler Simmons, just 28 years old. His family say he dreamed of serving his country.
He's just a fantastic person. You couldn't ask for a better grandson than he was.
Well, oil is now at $101 a barrel, and that is hitting gas prices in the U.S. Gas Buddy thinks gas will hit $4 a gallon this week. That, of course, could rise further as this war continues. Rebecca?
And you see the ripple through of all of it. Okay, James, thank you.
Trump's not asking, he's demanding. The White House is planning to announce a coalition of countries to reopen the Strait of Hormuz this week, reported Axios and the Wall Street Journal on Sunday. Trump said he has turned to about 7 countries to send warships to the passage. He declined to name them, but previously said he'd hoped China, France, Japan, South Korea, and the UK would join. Trump claimed policing the strait would be more for the benefit of other countries than the US.
We are demanding that these countries come in and protect their own territory because it is their territory. It's a place from which they get their energy.
Asia, which receives roughly 70% of all crude oil shipped through the strait, has suffered the most from its closure. Still, Japan and Australia have already stated they won't be sending warships or ordering maritime security to the passage. On Monday, Tokyo began releasing its oil reserves worth about 45 days to manage supply shortages.
We plan to consider taking necessary steps while communicating well with relevant countries, including the U.S., and monitoring the situation closely. But no decisions have been made to send self-defense forces.
It seems Trump won't take further rejections lying down. In an interview with the Financial Times, he said it would be very bad for the future of NATO if it refuses to help. Trump also pressured China to participate, claiming the country gets 90% of its oil from the strait. The U.S. leader is scheduled to travel to Beijing at the end of the month for a summit with Xi Jinping. If China says no, Trump threatened he could delay the meeting to an unspecified date.
More than 100 Iranian naval vessels have been sunk over the last week and a half. That has to be some kind of a record. Additional strikes continue to launch from all directions every single hour. And as you know, we attacked Carg Island and knocked it literally at everything on the island except for the area where the oil is. I call it the pipes. We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but we will do that. We can do that on 5 minutes notice, it'll be over. But for purposes of someday rebuilding that country, I guess we did the right thing. But it may not stay that way. Just one simple word and the pipes will be gone too, but it'll take a long time to rebuild that. We are aggressively dismantling Iran's defense industrial base, and ability to rebuild its drone capability is getting down to close to zero. And we're hammering their capacity to threaten commercial.
Hasan Shocks' dog, report him. Hasan Shocks dogs. Hasan is a everybody here be warned. Hasan Shocks dogs. Hasan used shockers. Hasan is shocking his dog. Fuck Hasan, that abuser. Bro, you good? Everybody spam fuck Hasan. This has got to be a bot, right? You good, bro? You good? LLLLL. Be honest, Hasan, is this true? Yeah, see? Look. Place. I shocked her so hard. She's dead now. Everybody typed on. This guy's awesome. All right, where were we? Guys, things are going really well. Okay, things are going really well in the war effort. I just want to say, please don't write it in the news that things are not going really well in the war effort, because if you do that, I'm going to make it illegal. I'm going to put you in jail if you do that. Okay, Brandon Carr, head of the FCC, please make it illegal for people to say the war effort is not going well. Please, Brandon, do something about it. I need you to put it in the newspaper that the war is doing great. Also, we're winning. We're winning so good, and we don't even need anyone's help, except if you don't give us help, we will remember it. That's right, the UK. I said we don't want your help, but actually that was a lie. I really do want your help. That was a lie. I desperately need your help. Please give me help. We need all of the help we can get. Yes, we will be covering Cuba in a little bit. I know Cuba's power grid collapsed fully. Cuba has officially completely run out of oil. And we will be covering it, obviously, and I'll be giving you more updates on that as well after I'm done with this part of the broadcast.
In the Strait of Hormuz, with more than 30 mine-laying ships, we hit, to the best of our knowledge, all of their mine-laying ships. Now they can put them on other types of ships, I guess, and drop them in, but we don't know that any have even been dropped in. We're not sure that any have been. That's a big negative for them if they do it. It's a form of suicide. But we don't know that they have dropped any in. But we've hit all 30 of their ships and them. They're all at the bottom of the sea. We strongly encourage other nations whose economies depend on the Strait far more than ours. You know, we get less than 1% of our oil from the Strait, and some countries get much more. Japan gets 95%. China gets 90%. Many of the Europeans get quite a bit. South Korea gets 35%. So we want them to come and help us with the Strait. We have it in very good shape. The countries, I said, we've already taken care of Iran, but now, because of the fact that literally a single terrorist can put something in the water or shoot something or shoot a small, and it's fairly
kind of should have thought about that beforehand, don't you think? That was, that's the reason why the Strait is not open. It's not open. It was open, but it could be open. But, it's kind of hit or miss. And by that, I mean, you hope that the drones miss your ships, right? That's what you hope. You hope for it, but then sometimes the drones don't miss and they hit the ship and then the ship's on fire. And I guess what I'm trying to say is the Strait of Hormuz is not open, even though I said it is, and it should be open and it could be open. But I chose to wage war against this country alongside Israel, unbelievably coping. China, please help me, China. What is this, Pastor Jihad? That's funny. Stupid. Okay. Where was it? Oh, here it is.
Close range because it is a tight area, and which is one of the reasons they've always used that as a weapon. Iran has always used that as an economic weapon, and it's not going to be able to be used very long. Numerous countries have told me they're on the way. Some are very enthusiastic about it, and some aren't. Some are countries that we've helped for many, many years. We've protected them from horrible outside sources, and they weren't that enthusiastic. And the level of enthusiasm matters to me. We have some countries where we have 45,000 soldiers, great soldiers, protecting them from harm's way. And we have done a great job. And when we want to know, do you have any minesweepers? Well, would rather not get involved, sir. I said, for 40 years we're protecting you, and you don't want to get involved in something that is very minor. Very few shots going to be taken because they don't have many shots left. But they said, we'd rather not get involved. I just want the fake news media and everybody else to remember that that was said, because I've been a big critic of all of the protecting of countries, because I know that we'll protect them, and if we ever needed help, they won't be there for us. I've just known that for a long period of time, just like I knew about the Strait, that it would be a weapon. What we're going to do is we could take a few questions from the press.
Oh, I also met the journalist, the New York Times journalist that asked Trump that question about how he was the only one in the administration that's like, how he was the only one in the admin that was actually saying like that America had not struck the school. Yeah, he said he appreciated that I hyped his ass up. Why would China help us? There's no reason. Mearsheimer is not sugarcoating it. We're not winning against Iran. Yeah, I don't know why people are... I know why people are coping, right? I know why people are coping, because if you've had a lifetime of like American dominance, okay, and even when like, Afghanistan was a failure, Iraq was a failure, Vietnam was a failure, all these things were failures, but they were technically successes for the capital owning class, because those wars were not meant to be... those wars were not there to like win, right? Those weren't like military successes. Those wars were there for... What is happening today? What is the Israeli bots back or something? I thought they hit the data center. What's going on today? Is it because of the Vanity Fair party and there's like some positive PR around, so they have to like spam it or something? Is it the Hasbara budget? Where is this coming from? I was genuinely... BB harassing you from beyond the grave? Yeah. Michael Fusco Art, thank you for the 50 big ones. Hasbara is in overdrive all over social media at the moment. They migrated their servers to AWS. So, anyway, we were... they're talking about that one Asmold pick. Huh? What do you mean? Oh, yeah, it's Asmongold with the Israeli shock collar. So, all of those other wars, right? Like Afghanistan, Iraq, like there are military objectives, but like ultimately it's supposed to be a way to like bloat defense contracts, right? Like for the military industrial complex, things like that. This, on the other hand, is not a way where you can like force project, a way where you can show how dominant you are as a military force. Like this is not, this doesn't have any like discernible W in the near future or in the far future, okay? There is nothing here that you can hold on to, because it has been devastating for the energy markets. So no one is actually, no one on the American economy side is actually going to see any positive reverberations from this. It's actually been devastating for American force projection capabilities, because like when we did shock and awe from the standpoint of like someone working at the State Department or someone working in the American government, you have this idea that like we can go anywhere around the world in 24 hours and we can destroy them. Like we can destroy our enemies no matter how strong they might be, right? And the issue here is we completely lost that. We showed everyone that we can't even protect our allies, that an American security cooperation doesn't actually offer you security at all. It is a total paper tiger moment for America, right? Our foreign adversaries are doing fantastic. Russia is doing amazing in this in this process, because now we have to release some of those sanctions. We have to do sanctions easement on Russia so that these other countries don't completely collapse. Russia is a major energy provider, and now they have massive leverage in this process. Again, another opportunity for leverage for China as well, both because everything that takes away from the American power, American imperialism capability, everyone saw your ass out on stream. Saw our ass out on stream. Everyone saw our ass out on stream. Yeah. This is the one where I think we can be pretty confident in saying there was no real plan here. There was an idea of what they wanted, but they didn't really plan a scenario besides Venezuela 2.0. Yeah, it's just like, it's crazy because like the Venezuela one was fairly in and out, right? The Venezuela one is like, it was a quick extraction campaign. It was illegal. It was totally ridiculous. But like Trump understood and got assurances, very clearly got assurances ahead of time from Trump very clearly got assurances ahead of time from the Venezuelan government that the Delcy Rodriguez administration was going to play ball with them. It's very clear, like the leadership, there was a contingency plan. There was an idea of like what the next day would look like once Maduro was kidnapped. And while that's completely illegal, completely unjustifiable, it was a relatively swift process, as I said at the time as well. I was like, this is completely unacceptable. We're broaching new territory here. Having said that, however, this is very much the exact kind of Trump plan that he likes to do. Qasem Soleimani as well, like the assassination of Qasem Soleimani was a new era of American assassinations of like high-ranking leadership of foreign adversaries. It was a big gamble, but Iran demonstrated tremendous restraint as a consequence, or in the aftermath of that. So that didn't actually end up exploding in Trump's face, even though it was a fucking idiotic gamble, because what's happening right now in Iran could have happened back then, right? So we have found out, at least by now, what kind of military campaign Trump likes to do and what kind of military campaign Trump doesn't like to do. He will behave like a madman and do things that previous administrations have shied away from. This is clear, right? He very clearly will go in and kill a leader of a foreign country, of a foreign adversary, for example. He'll go in and kidnap the foreign leader of a country, but he does not like having long-standing military occupations up until now. This is a new moment in his administration because right now he's kind of being forced into a situation where he has to commit additional troops to an extended bombing campaign, to an extended boots on the ground military occupation in a massive country like Iran. I don't think he wants to be there. I don't think he wants to be there at all. I think in his mind, this was a 4-day campaign maximum. Come in, scare the rest of the administration after you decapitate the leadership and high-ranking generals, find someone who will comply, possibly an IRGC guy, and then work with that guy to set up Western interests inside of the country. Except that's not what happened, because this is coming off the heels of 47 years of instability, 47 years of direct destabilizing efforts in Iran, and trying to kill Iranian citizens, successfully killing Iranian citizens through sanctions, through the Iran-Iraq war, and numerous other endeavors. And also having fake negotiations set up. And the major reason as to why this is different is because this wasn't conducted by the American side. This was conducted by the Israeli side. The Israeli side gave Trump all of the idiotic things, all of the idiotic information that is totally, totally not true, and told them how easy this would be when it was very clear it wasn't going to be an easy campaign at all. And anyone and everyone could have told you a mile away that this was going to be a long-standing, incredibly consequential, devastating predicament. Millions of lives lost if it continues, right? An energy crisis around the world that no one wanted, but everyone predicted. Donald Trump hates being in a situation like that. He hates being in a situation like that. But now he's stuck. And it's pretty crazy because you see it. You see this is a joke, but it's not really. Trump 228, war is about nukes. 3-1, declared victory. 3-3, war is about U.S. elections. 3-4, war is about human rights. 3-7, we're winning the war. 3-11, declared victory 5 times over. 3-14, war is won, allies need to help. 3-13 to 3-15, war is won and liberating LGBTQ. 3-16, Ayatollah Khamenei is gay. It's remarkable because you rarely ever see such poor messaging discipline from the American administration. You rarely ever see an American administration, regardless of how bad the war efforts are going, kind of fall apart with no pushback whatsoever. Like, these guys are folding with zero pushback. I mean, I guess militarily there's maximum pushback from Iran, and it's very obvious, and I joked about this before, but like Trump's attitude here is, oh shit, Iran got hands. Also, don't they know it's illegal, right? Don't they know it's illegal to fight back? And for the record, I've been joking about this for the last 3 weeks now, as we are in the 3rd week of Operation Epstein's Fury. But Trump basically did say that.
So it's a little unfair. You know, you win a war, but they have no right to be doing what they're doing. But we're hitting them very hard. And today is a big day where we're pounding a certain area that has very much to do with the Strait. And I think we'll get it going very soon. So it's
kind of unbelievable that, Trump is just out here saying the quiet part out loud again, right? He's just straight up saying it should be illegal to fight back the way that Iran is fighting back. How dare they? You're not supposed to go after me. You're not supposed to go after my friends. You're not supposed to go after my radar installations in the fucking region, right? Why? Like, you're not supposed to close the Strait of Hormuz. Why are you doing that? Don't you know you're supposed to just like sit there and eat it? And I guess like if you are only used to just dominating countries that have already been previously dominated, previously destabilized, this is a moment where, this is a moment where you're like a little shocked. You're like a little confused. You're like, wait a minute. Why the hell are they successfully mounting an opposition? Why the hell are they successfully fucking fighting back?
And then after that, we'll have our meeting, and we have a little lunch for the board. So we'll have a little bit of a lunch, and it's an honor to have you all here. So many of you, Jimmy, so many of you are friends. It's a great honor to have you here, and we're going to do a great job with the Trump Kennedy Center. Okay, yes, please, CNN.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm not CNN, I'm Daily Wire, but thank you for the question. Numerous countries have told me they are on their way. Can you give us a hint what they are, what that entails, how soon they might be there?
You mean who are the countries?
Yes, sir.
I'd rather not say yet, but we'll be announcing Marco Rubio and the various people that are doing that will be announcing. And I have to tell you, we have some that are really enthusiastic. They're coming already. They've already started to get there. It takes a little while to get there. It's like, in some cases, you have to travel an ocean. So it doesn't go that fast, but it'll go fast. And we have some that are fairly local that are doing it. But we'll give you a list. Some are very enthusiastic, and some are less than enthusiastic. And I assume some will not do it. I think we have 1 or 2 that will not do it that we've been protecting for about 40 years at, tens of billions of dollars, Mr. Speaker. So I'll be reporting that to you in the House and the Senate, and I'll say, why are we protecting countries that don't protect us? And I've always felt that was a weakness of NATO. We were going to protect them, but I always said, when in need, they won't protect us. Now, this isn't need. Need would be one of the big boys. But I will say that we built the greatest military in the world, and we protect people. And if we need their mine boats, or if we need anything, any piece of apparatus that they may have because of a situation that they have, they should be jumping to help us, because we've helped them for years stay out of wars. Yeah, please.
Thank you.
That's not true. by the way. There's never been a moment where America has caused the rest of the world to not get into wars. It is the exact opposite. And it's funny because Donald Trump would admit that, like, last time he was running for president, right? That's the type of thing that you would hear from Trump. He'd be like, we're always trying to, you know, get into other people's business and then forcing the rest of the world to come with us. It's unacceptable. Why are we over there destabilizing the world? Like, that's what he used to say in 2016. That's what he used to say in 2024. It's so crazy. Now that it's like, it's, you know, now that Big Daddy, Big Yahoo was like, you got to get in here. You got to get in here and fuck this shit up. Okay. He's like, that's right, everyone. Why aren't they doing it with us? Why aren't they so excited, so giddy at the prospect of allowing their sailors to die? Why are they not allowing their sailors to die so that Big Yahoo can continue his war? That's right. I love him. I love Satan Yahoo. He is my favorite.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Can you tell us if you spoken with French President Macron about the coalition?
Also, the countries he's complaining about have followed the U.S. into all of our wars, which, again, were all completely ridiculous, should have never happened, and weirdly enough, obviously still benefited Israel's ambitions in the region and also our other regional allies as well. This is a unique one, though, because this is the one where it only benefits Israel and pretty much nobody else. And let's be real, it might not even be beneficial for Israel if America cannot keep up its steady defense of the most moral nation on the planet, the only nation that matters. Am Israel Chai, Am Israel Chai. I love the nation state of Israel, right? So this might not even be good for fucking Israel if it keeps going the way it's going. Oh.
Strait of Hormuz. Have you been speaking with the French president?
What does that mean?
Have you been speaking with the French President Macron about the coalition to reopen the Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, I have spoken to him. He's been on a scale of 0 to 10. I'd say he's been an 8. Not perfect, but it's France. We don't expect perfect.
Are you confident that France will help with the reopening of Strait of Hormuz?
Yeah, I mean, sure. I think he's going to help. I mean, I'll let you know. I spoke to him yesterday. I don't do a hard sell on them because my attitude is we don't need anybody. We're the strongest nation in the world. We have the strongest.
Is that really what's going on, big dog? I mean, bro said, yeah, sure. Yeah, we don't need anybody except if all the vassals don't fucking come out and defend us with their military because we really fucked up. I'm going to be super mad. I don't see any way out of this other than de-escalation. I find it objectively strange that de-escalation is not a part of the conversation. I find it very odd that Trump is not trying to cut Israel out of the equation, even at this stage, and to say, you know what? We're going to find a manageable conclusion here, a solution that makes a little bit more sense for everybody involved. Let's not light up the entire energy markets on fire as we have done so over the past 16 days. Let's find, let's de-escalate. Let's allow Iran to maintain sovereignty. We will, we will get a tactical W here because we can just say we destroyed their military capabilities, right? It's just cope. But sometimes you need to eat that fucking cope because if you don't, where is this supposed to go?
Military by far in the world. We don't need them. But it's interesting. I'm almost doing it in some cases, not because we need them, but because I want to find out how they react. Because I've been saying for years that if we ever did need them, they won't be there. Not all of them, but they won't be there. I was very surprised with the United Kingdom because the United Kingdom, 2 weeks ago, I said, why don't you send some ships over? And he really didn't want to do it. I said, you don't want to do it. We've been with you. You're our oldest ally. And we spend a lot of money on, NATO and all of these things to protect you. I mean, we're protecting them. We're working with them on Ukraine. Ukraine's thousands of miles away, separated by a vast ocean. We don't have to do that, but we did it. Well, Biden did it. I mean, I have to be honest with you. Biden got taken to the cleaners. But we worked with them in Ukraine. We don't need to work with them in Ukraine. And then they tell us that we have a mine ship around, and they don't want to do it. I think it's terrible. No, I was very surprised. I told him, we requested 2 aircraft carriers, which they had, and he didn't really want to do it. And then right after the war essentially ended, meaning they were obliterated, he said, I would like to send the aircraft carriers. I said, I don't need them after the war has ended and won. I need it before the war. So I was very upset with, not upset, I was not happy with the UK. I think they'll be involved, yeah, maybe. But they should be involved enthusiastically. We've been protecting these countries for years with NATO, because NATO is us. You can ask Putin. Putin fears us. He doesn't fear, he has no fear of Europe whatsoever. He fears the United States of America and the military that was built by me in the first term. Yeah.
President, you mentioned the significant amount of oil that China derives from the Middle East. What is the status of your conversation with President Xi in terms of getting China to cooperate, in terms of making this?
Yeah, why would that happen? Can you explain, Mr. President, please explain to me why the country that we have agitated against, the country that we claim is our #1 foreign adversary, why would that country come out and help us, Mr. President, when the Strait of Hormuz is closed for everyone except for China? And also now numerous other countries that are cutting side deals with the nation of Iran. Why would anybody do that? Like, look at his fucking face. Look at his face. He doesn't even need to answer the question. Look at his face. Look at the fucking face. Why? Why should China ever in a million fucking years turn around and be like, oh yeah, let me fix your fuck up while you're still bombing Iran? Why would that happen? Not only is it not beneficial for China's interests, okay, the very fact that we have endlessly postured against this other foreign nation over and over again while demanding a fucking bailout once more like it's 2008, because that's what happened, by the way. In 2008, China bailed us out. They played a major role in stabilizing our economy because at the time, it was a necessity for the entire globe, okay, for the international markets. So China played a role in bailing us out in 2008, an often forgotten aspect of our endless posturing against China. There are so many fucking idiots that still come in here and they're like, China this, China that, China's the scariest country on the fucking planet. It's like, bro, we would have cratered, due to our unlimited greed, we would have cratered the fucking global marketplace if it wasn't for China bailing us out in 2008, because, you know, they recognized that they needed us to be the continue fucking developing so they could continue selling goddamn Labubus and trade maxing. And now, once again, the demand is there. We fucked it up. Now you have to come in and save us. And it doesn't make any fucking sense. It does not make any sense whatsoever. And yet, as always, for the record, the ones that are getting screwed over the hardest, aside from the Gulf states, who thought that they could just have American bases, American military bases, and American assets on their soil, and then, you know, America just launches a war against their massive sovereign neighboring country, Iran, and they would just get away scot-free for some reason. I don't know why they thought that, right? They thought, oh, well, Iran is restrained. They always do restraint. They'll be fine. Well, you killed the one guy who was clearly holding it back. Okay? Yeah. The restrained parties got killed. And for the record, if I can see it, because I called it out ahead of time, I said it over and over again to deaf ears, not in this community, but in general, I kept repeating, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is a very restrained party. I know it sounds crazy to say. Like, think about when you first heard me say that. And this wasn't even like, a couple months ago. I've been saying that for the past 2 years, right? Whenever Israel would blow up, like an Iranian embassy or something in Damascus, and then there was very little pushback from Iran, I kept repeatedly telling you over and over again, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, I know it sounds crazy to hear, But Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is one of the most restrained parties in this entire conflict. Okay? And now he's dead. We assassinated him in his home at the age of 87 in the opening salvo, following along Israel's endless ambitions of destabilizing this region. We killed him. We killed his family. We killed a bunch of other IRGC generals in the process as well. And they were backed into a corner and forced to fight out of it. And now, here we are in this grand fuck up, entering the third week of Operation Epic Fortnight, Operation Epic, want to fucking call it. And the question is, how can you get President Xi to fix your fuck up? And this is our stupid baboon president's face. I mean, the last time the U.S. attacked Iran, all Iran did was launch a few bombs at a base in Qatar while warning way ahead of time, hitting an empty area and clearing it with the U.S. beforehand. Khamenei's MO was strategic off-ramps. Exactly. Strategic restraint was the name of the game. And I said it over and over again. It sounds crazy. Think about how insane you thought I was when you first heard me say this 2 years ago. Now think where you're at now. Because for many Americans, they've never even thought about a foreign adversary, especially one that wears a turban. Oh, he's a religious figure. These guys are crazy. We know that they're barbaric. They're barbarians, right? Like, for the average American, it's not even within their capacity to understand that, like, other countries that we have designed as, like, permanent enemies might not actually present a significant threat to us until we force them to become a significant threat, okay? The reason why I'm bringing this up over and over again is because the same principle stands with Hasan Nasrallah as well, leader of the General Secretary of Hezbollah that was assassinated by Israel. And you should always factor that into your analysis. Like, what you have been taught for years and years might not necessarily be the case. So when you hear something that doesn't sit right with you because it doesn't correspond to your, to your social development, to how you've learned about these countries in the periphery, these enemy states, just remember that. You can overcome that hurdle so you can make better analysis, so you can conduct better analysis in general. I was about to say the same thing. Hezbollah had the same type of threat making, but little military action that Iran did. Exactly. Don't unpause the video. It lives on. Welp. That's funny. I like that we immediately turned it into an emote.
Strait of Hormuz safe for those oil tankers?
Yeah. So China's a great example. They get 91% of their oil from the Hormuz Straits, which we protected for years. And it always bothered me that we have these countries. Japan gets 95% of its from the Straits, the Hormuz Straits. And it always bothered me that we're protecting and we don't need them. We didn't need them before we started dig we must. Dig me must. That's the Trump policy of lots of oil. And we didn't use them very much. It used to be at 10%. Now it's at almost zero. We don't need, we don't need oil. We have all the oil we need for ourselves. It's one of the great assets that we have. We have more than double what anybody else in terms of oil production. We're at more than double any other country. So we don't need it, but we did it. It's almost... You could.
Awesome. No, keep explaining to everyone that we actually don't even suffer from this. We're just fucking up the rest of the world's energy because we're totally isolated. This is great. This is great. Hey, by the way, how are the fucking oil prices doing in America right now? Because the other part of this is you have to go to the oil and gas industry and demand that they overproduce, at least for the American markets, and not actually sell their oil and gas to other partners, which would collapse, which would totally crater their energy markets again, right? Or overproduce by such an unimaginable degree that we don't have the capabilities to do so at this moment. For the record, it's like literally impossible to make up for the market loss, right? That you can stabilize the entire globe's energy on your own. You can't do that. You can't fucking do that. You can't out-drill, partially because you can't out-ship. You can't just magically You can't just magically reroute the entire world's energy outside of the United States of America. You're like, okay, we're just going into we're supercharging our oil production. Okay, what are you going to do when you don't have fucking ships? You don't have the tankers. You don't have the facilities. There's just no way. Like, it's just not possible, especially in the short term. That's not how the complex web that we have designed in the international energy commodities market. It's not, you can't just like magically flip a switch and decide America is now going to make up for the fucking the lack of supply. It just doesn't work that way. You need fucking oil tankers. You need a massive runway. You need to start the refineries ahead of time. Sometimes it takes a while to get up to the capacity necessary. It's all because of capitalism. A competent country would place price controls and export controls for oil. No. Because even if America was like China and had complete control over its energy extraction and decided to literally refuse to sell so they could stabilize here, then what is Europe going to do? What is Asia going to do? Do you not understand? Not only do we not have the price control capabilities internally, especially for the oil and gas industry, that's not the goal here. That's never been the goal. That's not how America works, right? Haven't seen Kaya for a while. Did animal control finally save her? I swear to God, I think it's got to be the Vanity Fair thing, right? She's right here, chatter. I just don't use that camera angle anymore because this one's hotter. This one's more personal. You think that's what it is? The Kayatollah is sleepy. But yeah, even if countries around the world that have more capabilities of like releasing their strategic reserves and trying to do like export controls and stuff like that, there are plenty of countries that need oil, that need to get imported oil. So in that predicament, in that situation, right, what are those countries supposed to do? Do they just collapse? I mean, look at what we're doing in Cuba right now. Cuba doesn't have oil refineries. Cuba needs oil to be imported into the country. Cuba exports sugar. Cuba gets oil in exchange for that, right? Like that was the bargain initially. That was the design initially. Because what we did to Cuba in 3 months was cut off their oil supply from every other country that used to send them oil. Canada being one of the countries, Mexico being another one, and Venezuela, right? These were like the 3 primary oil shipping countries to Cuba. We obviously overtook Venezuela, and we started intercepting tankers that were sending oil to Cuba. And on top of that, we told Mexico and Canada that they were no longer allowed to send oil to Cuba. We completely shut their energy grid off. Today, you're hearing about the Cuban energy grid collapsing as a direct consequence of their 3 months of not having any fucking oil sent to the country. That is what every other country would look like that needs oil imports. You understand? So even if America capable of releasing their strategic reserves and also capable of price controls, which not going to happen, but let's say we did do that, right? Or capable of demanding that our oil producers produce much more much more oil in order to stabilize the market. We don't have the capacity to stabilize the market. Even if we were to internally stabilize our prices, the rest of the world would have their energy grids collapse. This is like everything is interconnected. The energy markets are all interconnected. So it's not even just capitalism that's a play here. It's the devastating impact of when imperialism actually does fail, because it just totally destabilizes everything. It's unbelievable.
Say we did it out of habit, which is not a good thing to do. But we did it because we have some good allies there. It's
also extra unbelievable because the guy doing it is such a fucking baboon.
Middle Eastern countries there, Israel there. So we did it for a lot of reasons. But it always amazed me that we did it. We never asked for reimbursement. And it was really there to serve other countries, not us. And by the way, we have the Sugar King. The same story. Look at that. Alfie von Hool. Alfie, thank you both very much. Huh? That's Pepe, yeah. Pepe. Hi, Pepe. How are you? How are you? Is Alfie in the backstage? Huh? Is he sitting back there waiting for you? No? You doing all right? Pepe is a great friend of all of ours, I think, in the room. Tremendous. And we appreciate you being here. Great to have you. Thank you.
Mr. President, honored.
That's great. Both of you. Thank you very much. So go ahead, please.
Mr. President, you've said that Iran does want to make a deal. Now, into the third week of this bombing campaign, what would that deal look like? What are the ask that you're making of the government?
They want to make a deal. They're talking to our people. I don't know if they say that to you. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Don't forget, they are a country that for years, I didn't know this until recently, they're a country based on disinformation. And now they're using disinformation plus AI. And that's a terrible situation. That's a terrible situation. They showed all sorts of things happening in the last 2 weeks that never happened. Between their kamikaze boats that don't exist, between blowing up the aircraft carrier, one of the great ships in the world, the Abraham Lincoln, on fire. They showed it on fire. I called the general. I said, General, what's with the Abraham Lincoln? It looks like it's burning down. No, it's not burning down. Not a bullet was ever fired at it, sir. They know better. I said, this is my first glimpse of...
They literally keep begging. By the way, there is a lot of fucking AI bullshit, and obviously, like, you know, I don't, unlike the president, I don't fall for the AI slop, and I try to urge you not to fall for the AI slop either. But the Iranian government has actively been begging for American naval assets to try and go through the Strait of Hormuz. They have agitated for it over and over again. They have demanded it over and over again. This is what they want. They want to goad America into sending a fucking ship through the kill zone so they can pummel it and take a massive fucking W. Okay? They want the money shot. They want an American naval asset to try to cross the Strait of Hormuz, which is literally crossable only by a 2-mile area that is what is effectively known as a choke point or a kill zone. Okay? Any naval asset that tries to cross through that is going to get fucking pummeled. Okay? They're also demanding boots on the ground. The Iranian military command mocks Trump, says the operation should be called Epic Fear, not Epic Fury. Iran's Khatam al-Anbiya central headquarters, the wartime command and coordinates operation across Iran armed forces, shares a message in English directed at Trump. This motherfucker swapped it. He said it's English time.
A message to the President of the United States. The outcome of war
President of the United States
cannot be determined by tweets. The result of a war is determined in the field, the very place where you and your forces do not dare to approach, and you can only talk about it in your Twitter, to name this war as Epic Fear instead of Epic Fury.
That's crazy. Bro, is this going well? Is this going well, guys? Guys, is it going well? I don't think it's going well. And for the record, the conditions might change, right? America is so crazy. They could deploy a fucking nuke. America's so insane that and has such unlimited offensive capabilities that they could technically, like, genuinely destroy enough launchers that they can't, like, build them fast enough, even though it's, like, fairly easy to put together with scrap metal. Like, let's say that happens. It doesn't matter. Because even if America somehow was able to turn this around and, like, secure a W at the end, right, which I don't think is likely, the L's that we have taken thus far, are going to have reverberations for decades from here on out. The very fact that the last 16 days have shown the rest of the world that America is completely fucking incapable of defending American military bases and American assets has set back America's force projection capabilities in a way. Hasan, your deconstruction of this is incredibly inaccurate. Lamau, oh, sure, buddy. Sure. You're so right. You can keep leaning in to wherever you're getting maximalist cope from, okay? I have no dog in this fight beyond the fact that I want American imperialism to end, okay? I want Western imperialism to end. I want countries to have dignity. I want countries to have sovereignty, right? But if you think between the United States, Israel, and Iran, who has a upper hand so far, all you need to look at is whether or not the Strait of Hormuz is open. And it's objectively not open. It's still closed. The energy markets are still collapsing. So clearly, this is not the epic victory that America thought it was going to be. When the U.S. Secretary of War declares no quarter, he doesn't project strength. He conveys moral bankruptcy and ignorance about law of armed conflict. We advise him to review the Hague Convention and Rome Statute of the ICC unless he aspires to join Netanyahu as a war criminal. Yeah, that's not going to happen, man. This is what I mean. These guys are like too predisposed with like international rules of engagement, humanitarian rights. Like, it's not. America does not fucking play by those rules. Like, you have to figure this out by now. You have to have figured this out by now, please. We're literally starving the island of Cuba as a side project that we've basically put on autopilot. America is not held back by any fucking rules or standards. Well, the rest of the world will never see that either unless you militarily embarrass the country, okay? You have to create military deterrence, which is what the IRGC is doing right now. Any kind of like mention of international rights is so ridiculous. Like, it's just not going to work. Yeah. Iran believes in the American people more than I do at this point is right. It's crazy. It's crazy. Also, the Shia smirk, once again. Many people are saying it. Put that in the Shia smirk compilation. Next to Arakshi, next to the Ansar Allah guy. Is always the same. Hexet had a really funny meltdown as well. I can't wait to watch that. That was really funny. He's like, oh, the Strait is open. We just have tactical ambitions, and we're going to accomplish those tactical ambitions. But if we don't accomplish those tactical ambitions, then we won't. And everyone needs to shut up.
AI and what they've done with it. They showed buildings in Tel Aviv burning to the ground, high-rises burning. They showed buildings in Qatar. They showed buildings in Saudi Arabia.
How bad is the damage in Israel, really? I don't have social media. It's not as bad as people presented. The damage in Israel is nowhere near as bad as the way like AI videos show. The way there's a lot of misinformation around it. But this is not even about like punishing Israel. This is about punishing America. Okay? Because you can chip away at their stockpile. You can chip away at their defensive munitions. Slowly but surely, but given the weapons that Iran has been using to strike Israel, they're not even trying to do that, really. Hezbollah is certainly eating away at the stockpile a lot more than Iran is right now, because the stuff that Iran is using, for the most part, either get intercepted in transit, or the ones that Iran uses that don't get intercepted are cluster munitions. I know people say, oh, they're actually, they're like re-entry vehicles. It's not technically a cluster munition. It's functionally a cluster munition. Please, it's ridiculous. It's a distinction without difference, the way that they're deploying some of these weapons, right? It opens up a super high altitude and dumps like 80 fucking warheads on top of, they have 80 submunitions that they're dumping on top of like the Israeli defenses, and that the reason why they're using that is very clearly to create an insecure environment for like regular Israeli society. They wouldn't be using that if they wanted to destroy the defensive capabilities that Israel has, right? Because those are not interceptable. Right? Those are not interceptable munitions. That's kind of deliberately why they're using those munitions. If they wanted to eat away at the Tamir interceptors that they have, or the aero ballistics that they have, the ballistic munitions that they have in the aero systems, they would be using different kinds of ballistic missiles that require that are interceptable, right? As Theodore Apostle notes, when an interception happens, it's very obvious there's a big explosion in the incoming warhead, and the fact that we don't see this often is a mark of how rare it is. Look, that's what an interception, a successful interception looks like. Whoa. DoorDash driver got really nasty with me because he heard your voice in the background. Lol. Wait, what? You got a hater? You are wrong on the demarcation between MERVs and a cluster. Dude, it's a distinction without a difference, okay? It doesn't matter. I don't know why you guys are like holding on to this as though, like, it doesn't matter, because guess what? America and Israel refused to sign on to the cluster munitions provision anyway. So they're not even, it doesn't matter. They love deploying cluster munitions themselves. America and Israel both do this. And on top of that, it's just, on top of that, like it's silly to try to make this distinction when the goal of the way that they're using these missiles is basically a cluster munition. It's not interceptable. That's why they're using it. Chatter's right. Clusters hit indiscriminately after deploying at very low altitude. MRVs can further target after deployment. No, most of the ones that they're using are not fucking targeting. The submunitions are not targeting. They're just falling. They're falling in whatever random area that they're hitting. And those munitions normally are supposed to be like a shotgun blast, and they're supposed to open up much closer to the target to make sure that the area that it's spreading, the area of impact that it spreads to, is where, like, I don't know, the military barracks are, for example. Like, that's what they're supposed to be used for, but they're exploding them at such high altitude so that it doesn't get intercepted. That the goal there is to just have 80 submunitions that open up on top of the Israeli airspace and fall on top of cars, fall on top of buildings. It's like the goal is to have a widespread area of impact. They're not even using the ballistic munitions in the way that they normally would. And it's a semantics argument. I don't have enough missile autism. I'm just literally looking at what they're doing and how they're using these munitions. Normally, from what I understand, the way that those ballistic missiles are used is it's like anti-personnel, right? You're supposed to use it like a shotgun blast, as like a bird shot, spread it into a limited area. You can still obviously target a limited area, a smaller area, depending on where you open up the cluster munitions. But the way that the submunitions get deployed is such high altitude that it's very clearly being used as a way to maximize the damage. And the reason why I am saying that is, in spite of the fact that America doesn't give a shit anyways, it doesn't fucking matter. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because if they wanted to, or if they had the capability still to do so, I don't know if this is within the capacity of the Iranian launches anyway at this moment, right? Or whether it's for some other reason, and I suspect that it's because their capabilities have been attrited successfully through endless American strikes. Like they have like limited denial capabilities regardless inside of Iran, and you know, America doesn't have like complete air superiority, but like they've actually been able to shut off entry points in these caves, blow up enough TELs. Like it's obvious that they're having a harder time deploying some of their older missiles, right? Because they have a massive stockpile of older tech that they could just dump on top of the Israeli airspace right now if their primary goal was to destroy the air defense capabilities by the Israeli air defense capabilities by just like constantly pummeling Israel over and over again. Iran is claiming they've been using the old stuff, not the new stuff. This is true. Iran has been using the old stuff, but the oldest stuff that they have in their stockpile, they were using in the first couple of days. If you remember, the strikes were much more frequent, much more intense, and America had not been able to successfully figure out where the launch sites were, and was not doing, like, you could see with the density of how many missiles that Iran was launching at Israel in the first couple of days, as opposed to right now where there's like 4 to 5. Most of them get intercepted, and the ones that don't get intercepted are the ones that open up way above in high altitude that just pepper sub-munitions on top of the Israeli airspace. Also, the casualty numbers have gone up again. U.S. troops wounded in Iran war surpasses 200 across 7 countries. Those numbers are going to keep going up as well. The sub-munitions are not independently targetable, so they are MRVs rather than MIRVs. However, they're functionally a bit different from cluster munitions because the MRVs are fewer and more powerful, making them perfect for hitting targets like airfields, and each of the MRVs are strong enough to blow up planes on the airfields. Cluster munitions are more used against personnel since they have more bomblets that are weaker. Sure. Israel's actively demolishing and using banned munitions in South Lebanon. I know. Israel doesn't abide by any fucking international rule. It doesn't matter. If you know this much about missiles and that's not your literal job, you need to do some self-reflection. No, I think there are a lot of people who are deeply autistic and autistic in the missile sense. It's not semantics. There's a huge difference between the two in terms of strategic capability and the implications for the recipients of the missile. Iran isn't using MIRVs, which would let them hit a bunch of targets precisely. They're only firing missiles with cluster warheads, MRVs. Soviets getting MIRVs is a part of why America finally sought nuclear arms control. Okay. I don't know why we're arguing over this. The reason why I was bringing up the type of munitions that Iran is using is if their goal is to deteriorate the munitions stockpile that Israel has, like their defensive munitions stockpile, then they wouldn't be using the type of missiles that they're using currently. They would go back to the previous barrage, like overwhelming barrage, like volley after volley process that they had in the first couple of days. They're not doing that. And the two different schools of thought on it is, one, they're not doing that because they're incapable of doing that because too many of their TALs have been destroyed, and they haven't been able to keep up with the destruction, because like the American and Israeli side are just like constantly pummeling them with these aerial missions, right? And also with the loitering drones and drone strikes that also take place as well. And the other school of thought is that Iran is simply not doing that because they have a higher interception, or they have a higher strike targeting efficiency, and therefore they're changing the types of missiles they're using. But I think that's a little bit cope. I think the truth is America is lying about how much they have been able to forcefully attrit Iran's launching capabilities. But I also do think that Iran's launching capabilities have experienced attrition. And that is the reason why they're not using the same consistent volley principle that they were using initially. And also because they're bunkering in for a much longer war. Iran's goal isn't to actually destroy the enemy militarily. It's to make themselves so disruptive to the flow of commerce that the aggressors have to give up. They can achieve that with just a few successful drones a day, or even the persistent threat of it. Exactly. For sure. I just find it very suspect that besides the plane incident in Iraq, the only U.S. soldiers who have died were in a single attack on day one. But it's also hard to believe that they could keep a lid on the fatalities given all the civilians that would just know. Just weird. I agree. I still suspect. Well, I've explained to you guys how they hide it. So the majority of the, first of all, a lot of the guys that are there are defense contractors, right? And defense contractors don't have the same, like the American military doesn't have the same responsibility of reporting defense contractors that die in the same way. Like even if it's a combat casualty, if it's a defense contractor, they just you don't hear about it. If it's an active duty service member, they have also ways of holding back the information, I guess. Like they can, if they're wounded in action, you don't know the severity of the wounding. You don't know how bad it is. I mean, they're knocked out of combat for the most part, though. So that's why the casualty numbers are important. The casualty numbers are fairly indicative of like how many people have been knocked out of combat. Honestly, the number of operations by Iran have not decreased. They just change around depending on what their next targets are. It's believable because didn't they close all the bases in the Middle East? They're mainly operating out of Europe and their aircraft carriers now. You don't define terrorism as a few drones a day or the threat of it to shut down the world oil supply, a few pop shots inspire fear in order to gain false representation of power. Yeah, it's called asymmetrical warfare, for the record. You can't fucking... We're talking about sovereign states now. This is state versus state violence. Unfortunately, the terrorism designation doesn't work as easily because it's not a non-state actor. You could say it's a rogue state, but you can't say it's a non-state actor. So it's not as easy to belittle and bully and ruthlessly lie about a foreign adversary in spite of the American need and the American capabilities of doing so by way of mainstream media. There's a reason why it's a little different. You don't hear from Hamas militancy, but you do hear from the foreign minister of fucking Iran, a country with 93 million people in it. Okay? Do you understand how things change? The dynamic shifts a little bit. Like, I'm sure the media would love to refuse to cover that, but there's obviously a lot of appetite from the masses to hear from the other side on this. It's much easier to belittle. It's much easier to propagandize the public against terrorism when it's a non-state actor, when it's a militant resistance group fighting against a foreign ally that is the most important foreign ally of all time. That's why it's so easy to say Hezbollah are terrorists, Hamas are terrorists, they're barbaric, they're ruthless, they're brutal. But it's a little bit different when it's actually a state actor that has been wronged by us, that has been shot at by us. We started this. So yeah, you can fucking sit around and be like, well, why are they using cluster munitions? Why are they using drone warfare? Isn't this a threat of terror? But at that point, we triggered these events. They didn't do this for 47 years. We triggered these events now. So it's our responsibility. It's just asymmetrical warfare. Okay? Yeah, we dropped a JDAM on a fucking school. We dual striked it. We double tapped it. It's crazy. We do not have the moral upper hand here at all. Okay? The only reason is Hezbollah not a state actor? Technically, no, because it's a paramilitary formation. It has state representation. It's an active party in the Lebanese parliament. However, its paramilitary operation is technically not a part of the state. Lebanon has a standing military. It's fucking toothless. It's ineffective. It's by design ineffective. But no, Hezbollah's militant wing is not considered a part, like an official part of the state at all. It's a paramilitary. I think they still have a responsibility to follow the laws of war, but it's not the most important part of the equation given the nature of the conflict. I agree. But if your enemy is not doing that, and you have limitations as far as like how you can fight back, you're going to engage in asymmetrical warfare. It gives you a significant upper hand, but you know, they're the ones who are fucking violating it all the time. When this is the problem with violating the rules of conflict, right? Because if sovereign states that are on the opposing side also start violating the rules of conflict because their enemy is not giving up, we're not giving up, right? We're not letting up. We're not trying to de-escalate. We're just simply escalating. Then yeah, they will do that too. That's kind of the whole point of why we had these rules set in the first place, don't you think? I mean, it's a little bit like the game theory, right? It's just at a certain point, our enemies are also going to say, all right, fuck it. Like, if you're not playing by the rules, we're not going to play by the rules. This is the second time we've engaged in an act of perfidy. Second negotiation process that was used as a way to mask a strike from first Israel, but this time a strike both from Israel and the United States of America. What the fuck do you expect? And that first strike this time around literally decapitated the entire state. Totally unheard of, right? And on top of that, killed 150 plus little girls in a school. And then Israel turned around on the third day and decided to engage in chemical warfare by blowing up the oil refineries in Tehran and making oil rain upon 15 million people that live there. It's unheard of. It's not going to happen. Like at that point, you would be a fool not to do everything in your power to like fight back and defend your sovereignty, defend your people. We hit a desalination plant. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. We've been hitting hospitals nonstop. Iran hasn't done so. You know what I mean? I'll give you an example. Look at the number of civilian casualties from the Iranian retaliatory strikes in the Gulf states and in Israel, as opposed to the civilian casualties in Iran. You about to get clipped with that? I don't care. Shut the fuck up. The point I'm making still stands. Argue against the point I'm making instead of posturing about like a potential clip. Oh no, I can't believe it. People are going to get mad at me. Okay? Think about the civilian casualties think about the civilian casualty percentage in the countries that Iran is bombing currently, as opposed to the civilian casualties in Iran, right? America and Israel have a far greater percentage of civilian casualties than Iran does. So once again, while it might not seem to be the case, because it's a scary, barbaric foreign adversary, a scary Muslim country that's doing this, right? And therefore, they're the ones who are always in the wrong. That's like the overall attitude that many Americans had. They are still more restrained than we are. Yeah. The U.S.-Israeli war has killed 2,400 Iranians in just 2 weeks. This includes 1,300 civilians, but also more than 1,000 soldiers, many of whom were conscripts doing mandatory military service. All of them were killed in an unnecessary war launched while Iran was already at the negotiating table. Every life lost is a tragedy. They're going to clip that. People are making fan cams of Arakshi on TikTok. I don't think people realize the terror jacketing shit ain't going to work on this one. Yeah. Terror jacketing still works when you talk about non-state actors, but it's much more difficult to create a messaging environment where you're like saying that our enemies are terrorists when the enemy is a competent sovereign state. That's the reason why Israel gets away with doing unlimited terror and genocide against both the Palestinian resistance front, but then also against the Lebanese population. And the overwhelming attitude here in the Western news is Hezbollah are the bad guys, Hamas and PFLP, Palestinian Islamic Jihad, are the bad guys. Even though Israel's the party that's doing the genocide, Israel's the party that is bombing the shit out of densely populated civilian areas in Lebanon, bombing beaches where people have evacuated to, bombing hospitals in Lebanon, killing healthcare workers. It's just ridiculous, right? It's totally fucking ridiculous. Who's the terrorist? That's why I always say, whenever people come in here and be like, oh, dude, you're a terrorism supporter, I say, I don't support America. I don't support Israel. I don't support America's wars. I don't support Israel's wars. I don't support terrorism at all.
And they weren't burning. They weren't hit. It was all AI-based. Terrible. It's terrible. And that's their only, I think that's the only thing they do well. They're negotiating. And we always talk. Somebody said, well, would you talk? Why would you even talk about it? Because sometimes good things come out of it. But I don't know if they're ready yet. They're taking a pounding. I don't know if they're ready yet. And we don't even know their leaders. Look, all of their leaders are dead, as far as we know. But they're all dead. We don't know who we're dealing with. We knocked out the first group. Then the second group met, 88 met to pick the leader because the first group was all dead. And the second group got knocked out. They're all dead. Then the third group met. I would think they're a little nervous about meeting. I don't know if they're nervous. Maybe they're not. Maybe they're crazy. If they're not nervous, then they're crazy. But we met with the next group, but we don't know who their leader is. We have people wanting to negotiate. We have no idea who they are. Yeah, please, Peter.
Thanks, President Trump. What are your advisors telling you about the Ayatollah's son, the new supreme leader? What are they telling you about him? Well, it's not
only them, it's you people. I mean, a lot of people are saying that he's badly disfigured. They're saying that he lost his leg, one leg, and he's, been hurt very badly. Other people are saying he's dead. Nobody's saying he's 100% healthy. And he hasn't spoken because the Ayatollah would sit and he'd spew hate from a form of a throne, not as nice as a throne. I like the English throne much better, but it was a fancy chair, but he'd spew hate from his chair. But you'd see him a lot, right? This one, we haven't seen at all. So that could be for a lot of different reasons. We don't know, Peter, if he's dead or not.
Now that you've announced...
I will say this, nobody's seen him, which is unusual.
Something else. Now that you've announced that the U.S. has destroyed all of Iran's mine-laying ships, why can't the U.S. just immediately reopen the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, we could, but it takes two to tango. We have to get people to take their billion-dollar ship and drive it up. If when Pepe has his big sugar ships coming around and they cost $1 billion, and we say, I think it's okay now, Pepe, take your ship, drive it through the Strait of Hormuz. He may say, let me wait a little while, because it takes ship owners, and these ships are very expensive. They can cost up to $2 billion. So they don't want to take a chance that, gee, I think you'll be okay. They got to know it. So they don't have to set, we don't know if they even set any mines. But the thought that they may have is enough to keep people from saying, we don't need it. Now, we are pounding that area, that coast, as you know, left side. We're pounding it, like really pounding it hard. And again, they may have no mine set. We hit every one of their mine droppers. They call it the mine layers, right? The ships. They're pretty sophisticated ships. Every one of them is gone. But it only takes one. So it's a little unfair. You win a war, but they have no right to be doing what they're doing. But we're hitting them very hard. And today is a big day where we're pounding a certain area that has very much to do with the Strait. And I think we'll get it going very soon. In addition, we do have other nations coming in. You need people to watch and people to see. We have other nations coming in. Yes, please.
If the United States is working to secure the Strait of Hormuz for the benefit of other countries like China, and our allies aren't yet stepping up to your standard, is the United States getting back to being the world's policeman?
Look, the United States should not be very much involved. They can on a certain basis. They've been doing it for a long time. But I've always said, if you look back years ago, I said, why aren't we being reimbursed? These are the richest countries in the world. Why aren't we being reimbursed for maintaining the Hormuz Strait? And why aren't we being reimbursed for that? I've said that for years. You can go back. They reported on it yesterday. I've been saying a lot of things about the Straits. Number one, I said it's the one advantage they have, but that's a suicidal advantage because they kill themselves more than they kill the rest of the world. And there are things you can do with time. There are other things you can do. But I think we're going to have the situation straightened out pretty quickly, and I think we're going to have some good help. And I think we're going to be disappointed in some nations too. And I'll let you know who those nations are.
One of your advisors, David Sachs, said the other week that the U.S. should, quote, declare victory and get out of the Iran war. He also warned that if the conflict escalates, Israel may contemplate the use of a nuclear weapon. Has he shared that assessment with you?
No, he hasn't. Israel wouldn't do that. Israel would never do that. And, yeah, there's a theory. You pounded them to hell.
Not my Israel.
And you could just leave now, and it'll take 10 years for them to build back not nearly what they have right now.
Not my Israel.
Theory, but we want to have it ended so that another president doesn't have. Look, for 40.
Is Trump live right now, chat? AIPAC's not a foreign lobby, but it's not really foreign. AIPAC's an American group funded and run by Americans who think Israeli and U.S. interests are largely the same. I don't think casting AIPAC as foreign helps any moral or strategic way. AIPAC absolutely is a foreign lobby. AIPAC also coordinates with the state of Israel and increasingly with just one of its political factions. Here's one ex-AIPAC's official talking about how the lobby more and more aligned with Likud, and a former AIPAC staffer charging it worked with Netanyahu against Oslo. I agree, this makes things complicated, though coordinating with one political faction versus another doesn't prove AIPAC is an agent of Israel, since if it is, they would align with the interests of whatever faction controls the government. During Oslo, that would have been labor. AIPAC absolutely should be considered a foreign lobby. because it is entirely for foreign interests. There's nothing that comes close to this. Okay? Every single other diaspora, if we are to consider diaspora, if we are to consider American Jews diaspora, which I don't, right? But that's the major distinction. It's the double standard here. American Jews are not diaspora populations. They're Americans, right? They're American citizens, and they are technically funding and funding the interests of AIPAC, funding AIPAC as American citizens do. There's no other advocacy group that comes near the level of prominence and the level of control that AIPAC has over the American Congress that is invested entirely and openly in the interests of a foreign nation state. Okay? Nothing comes close. And yet they do not get fair restrictions at all. This is the reason why people will say, don't call it a foreign lobby, even though it very clearly is a foreign lobby, because it's invested in Israel. Why wouldn't you consider them diaspora? I don't like the notion of saying that American Jews are diaspora. I don't think it's appropriate. I don't think it's true, because they're American. They're American citizens. They've been around in the United States. Many of them have lived here for longer than the nation state of Israel has ever existed, right? Like, they're not coming from another country into the United States of America. Some might be like dual citizens who are Israeli, right? But the overwhelming majority of American Jews are multiple generation American. They're American Jews. They didn't come here from Israel. They were here before Israel even fucking existed. Or they came here from places like Poland. They came here from Eastern Europe for the most part, right? They didn't come here from Israel. Yeah, like Felix. Think about like Felix Biederman, right? His, I think, great-grandparents were, like one of them was a pianist in the fucking Tsarist army or something, right? And then they came to America. They came to America from Russia, right? Is he a diaspora Jew that is technically Israeli? Like, no, of course not. It's fucking ridiculous. The problem, of course, is that Israel and many Zionists use this designation, and it's one that I, as an outsider, as you know, a non-Jewish person, I can't make that argument anyway. No, I mean, even if it's correct, it doesn't matter. Like, most Zionists will say, the fuck are you talking about? No, we are diaspora. We are diaspora to Israel.